And hello, everyone, and welcome back to Cyrus Webb Presents here on Amazon Live. I'm your host, Cyrus Webb. Glad you all could join us once again. Those tuning in on the Amazon side, we do say welcome to you. If you have not done so already, make sure you guys hit that follow button so you can follow our programming we have here 7 days a week. You'll notice it either in this corner or down below. Also, you'll notice either in the corner or down below are the books by our next guest. We're excited to welcome Patryce Sheppard to our program today. She's the author of a book I had a chance to read called Doing It Differently. I'm going to go ahead and highlight it for you guys on the Amazon Live side. You all can get it there. If you guys are just now finding out about Patryce, we're going to remind you how you can stay connected with her, but also what it's been like for her to share her journey as well. I also want to say hello to those tuning in on Facebook and YouTube as well. If you guys have any questions or comments for Patryce, feel free to be able to use the chat. We'll be able to bring those in as well. Patryce, glad to speak with you again. How you doing?
Thank you so much, Cyrus. Glad to be here. Thank you.
Yeah, the pleasure is definitely all mine. But you have lots for our audience to choose from here on Amazon when it comes to doing it differently. But I want to talk about your story because I found your story inspiring, motivating, but I think also it reminds people, Patryce, of what is possible even in difficult situations. So what has that been like for you to show people what they can do even when they're going through hard times?
Yeah, Cyrus. One of the things that my journey has taught me, of course, my journey is when I was 43 years old. I'm 49 now. I was diagnosed with stage 2 breast cancer, and I chose to do it differently throughout my journey by thinking positive about it, and then walking through the journey with a different mindset. And so the major thing that I've learned on this journey is that, we can't control what's going to happen to us. Situations of adversity, we can't control that. And just being a part of life, we're going to have that. And it was inspiring for me to know that what I'm doing is I'm inspiring people on various journeys, on any journey or any situation of adversity that they find themselves on, that they can also do it differently on their journey. And that's the most encouraging to me, because when I wrote the book initially, I was thinking specifically about breast cancer survivors and people who are going through breast cancer. But as I'm starting to travel and talk to people, I'm finding that it's really resonating with everybody, not just women who have breast cancer.
Yeah, and you and I had a similar conversation on the radio show. And for those who've missed it, they can find it on Amazon Music, the podcast there. Patryce, that's one thing I thought about as I was reading the book. That yes, of course, it's your personal journey when you were going through breast cancer, but I think anyone who's going through any kind of challenge, they can be able to kind of take heart to some of the things that you share. One thing that Patryce talks about in the book, y'all, that I think is so important for all of us these days is the importance of positivity, especially when it comes to the words we speak to ourselves. Hey, Tracy, good to be able to see you on the Facebook side. So talk to us about that, Patryce. How important has it been for you to watch what you are pouring into yourself, but also what's being poured into you?
I believe that there are certain things that we are in control of. And no matter what happens around us, those are our thoughts, our words, and our actions. And our actions and our words are a direct reflection of what we're thinking. So it's important for us to make sure that we're pouring into positivity into ourselves. And I can remember, when I was going through my journey with breast cancer, and what I would do is, because many times, Cyrus, I would wake up, bald, not feeling like myself, skin all dried out from the chemo, and just not looking the same, not feeling the same, not having the same energy and the same zeal for life. But I knew that I had to be able to snap myself right back into positivity. And so what I did for myself is I wrote sticky notes and just positive words. And I would place them all over the place, on the mirrors, everywhere. So when I woke up, I can see these positive words and speak positive words to myself. So then what I eventually ended up doing is I made these flashcards. I call them like affirmation cards. So they're here. And then on the other side of them, they're all those words that I was saying while I was, going through. All the positive words that I could say to myself to snap me right back into reality. And so I feel that positive affirmations, having positive people around you, making sure that the environment that you surround yourself in is positive. Because we're not going to always have days where everything is all rosy and we're skipping through the daisies. Every
Yeah.
day is not going to be that way, but we need to make sure that we are putting things back into us that are positive, because the reality is what comes out, and what you see on the outside is a reflection of what's on the inside.
Yeah. Such a great point. I want to read what you actually write about that, about the importance of those words, Patryce. For those, I have the paperback edition that I bought, guys. There on Amazon. But in the chapter, what you call dot number 3, Patryce, under declaration, you say this. It was 2017 at the time, and I thought, what if I changed my mindset to think positive and operate as if it were 2020? What if I made doing it differently a real thing instead of waiting for my destiny? Walk backwards from my destiny to present time. Perfect opportunity to test my faith, condition my mind with positive thoughts, make decisions about the day, and determine that now was the time for me to walk fully in my healing. I wanted to read that, Patryce, because I think the thing is, it begins with a decision, right?
Yes.
It begins with the decision to do it, and it doesn't mean that everything's going to go right just because you made the decision, but at least you're starting here. Did you know when you got the diagnosis that just as important as what you were going to go through with the treatment and everything, that the mindset was also going to be very important?
Well, I did know that mindset was going to be important. My mom is a very positive person, and she's been talking to me about mindset and things of that nature since I was a little girl. One of
Okay.
the things that my mom talks about, and I do share it in the book here, is she says everything is perfect. And Cyrus, she always says it when everything is not so perfect. And so
Right.
that's what kind of makes it, the oxymoron there, because usually it's in a time when things are when things are crazy, when life is turned upside down, and that's when she's coming back saying that everything is perfect. And so what I've grown to know is that everything that we go through on our journey, we're supposed to go through so that at the end we can impact more people. We can
Mm,
share we can share with more people. We can help more people. And so having that positive mindset from the very beginning, it is key, because it is that decision.
yeah.
Sometimes what happens to us, or the trajectory of things that start happening, comes from one decision that we make.
Yeah.
One decision to either go left or go right. And it's that first decision that can spark something big, whether
Right.
it's big in a positive way or big in another way.
Yeah.
And so I knew from the very beginning that I was going to have to change my mindset. So what I did is, I call them hindsight 2020 moments. And those are moments where after we've gone through a journey, then or some type of situation, then we look back with perfect vision now, thinking that we wish that we have done something differently. So
Right.
my idea was, let's not have those moments anymore. How about from the very beginning of a situation of adversity, we thought positive? And not only did we think positive, we think about the end in mind. Like,
Yeah.
what is the goal? What do you want to get out of this situation? And then you're here, you know that you want to then you start walking yourself back. That way, everything that happens on the journey, you know that it was supposed to happen so that you can get to the end. And then I just feel like you have a different mindset about it when you're going through it. Just trusting the process and then enjoying the journey along the way.
Yeah, I think that's such a big point. I would say for those who are just tuning in, either on Amazon Live, through our friends at Facebook or YouTube, you all are watching Cyrus Represents. Patryce Sheppard is our guest. She's the author of this book, Doing It Differently. And Patryce, I want to make sure I do get the subtitle in, An Empowering Approach to Thriving Through Breast Cancer. And again, it is available here on Amazon as well as other books as well. And I mentioned to you before we went live here, Patryce, we wanted to put the other books in for Amazon too, because not only are you sharing your story, you're encouraging other people to do the work and to kind of take their own journey. Talk to us about how the other books in the Doing It Differently series came about.
Yes. So while I was going through my journey, journaling and writing and documenting is a big part of not just my journey, but my life. I like to
Yeah.
journal. I believe that journaling is important because, first of all, it gives you an outlet. Journaling is for you. You can choose to share your journal or keep it private. When I was a little girl, I did have a diary, that kind of thing. So I've always been journaling and writing. And so that's an outlet for me because it gives me the opportunity to share my raw emotions, to
Yeah.
put down on paper what I'm feeling. And sometimes if I'm having a bad day or if I just need to talk some things out, that's the perfect way to do that. So that's first. And then also journaling is important because then what it does is it gives you a timeline. You can look back over time and see the progress that you've made. And that's been very important to me. Just going from being a single mom and seeing my son from a child now to a teenager and then now a young adult, just seeing his progress, looking at that, looking at my progress. And journaling does give you a timeline. And then last but not least, it gives you a collection of records so that you can put together and create something special. I'm going to be honest with you. The book is really from my journal. A lot of the things that I wrote in the book, I was going through chemo and I was, sick a lot of times. And I didn't remember many of these instances that I talk about in the book, but then I did get it from my journal. So that's one aspect of the series, for doing it differently, is journaling. And then there's a workbook there as well. So with the workbook, basically what it does is it asks engaging questions and it's chapter by chapter, following along with the book. Just so that we can, like you said, do the work ourselves. What I find many times is that as I'm talking to women and just people in general, that we really do want to change. We want to change our mindsets. We want to do things differently, but we don't know how. So I just wanted to put a collection of things together so that if someone wanted to walk through their journey, maybe in an organized way or have some documentation, that they would be able to do that.
Love that. Hello to you, Wendy. Good to be able to see you there on the Facebook side as well. Appreciate you being with us. Patryce Sheppard is our guest, everyone. She's someone who's been able to share her own personal journey and the way she's been able to thrive, even in spite of her breast cancer journey. In the book, Doing It Differently, you all see there. One thing we didn't talk about at the outset that we've discussed in other platforms, Patryce, is that you're not just an author of this book and this series. But you also are a speaker as well. Well, I want to talk to you about that because that's been a big part of how you share your story. What has that been like for you to be a in-person example? So much of our lives these days, like this, are virtual. Like you and I have never met in person, but we've had these conversations, right? What has it been like for you to be in front of a group and to physically show them what is possible and to share your story that way?
That part, honestly, Cyrus, is the most encouraging for me. So as I'm still on my journey, the journey never ends. I'm
Right.
still on my journey as I'm traveling and speaking to women and being able to encourage people, not and again, not just women, men as well, because it's
Right.
about different situations of adversity. That's been the most inspiring for me. I am having an opportunity, as you said, to travel and it started out with me coming in to speak at breast cancer awareness events.
Hmm.
Because in the beginning, of course, it is an empowering approach to thriving through breast cancer.
Right.
And so many people were having me to come in and speak at those kinds of events. But what's been happening is other people are reaching out to me. I've spoken at some churches and some other conferences and setting up my booth in places that I would feel like are uncharacteristic for someone, with the breast cancer book to be.
Mm.
And as I'm traveling and talking to people, I can tell you, Cyrus, this book is impacting lives in many ways that I never even imagined. And sometimes, I'll get comments and people will reach out to me and talk to me about how the book has affected and impacted them.
Right.
And it humbles me because that wasn't even something that I even saw or something that I
Mm.
even thought about. And so it's amazing how the book is growing. It's one book, something that I share from my heart, and it's growing and it's impacting so many people. And I'm actually honored and humbled by that.
Yeah, yeah. So you just brought up an interesting thing, which you actually address in the book. We had this conversation, Patryce, if you remember, on the radio side, and that is about telling. It is. We live in a world. I'm more of a conservative person myself, and even though I haven't had any medical issues, whatever. When my family was going through some, I didn't publicly share it until afterwards when I knew everything was going to be okay, that kind of thing. Just because well, it may have been for a same reason actually that you talk about in the book. I didn't realize at the time was no, people may mean well and say things, and we had enough that we were dealing with at that time, and I just didn't feel the need, to put it out there like that. Now there would have been plenty of people, I'm sure, that would have been positive and all of that.
Mhm.
Talk to us about that, the decision for you to share, but also you're addressing in the book, what, whether you share or not share your journey, that is totally your choice, and for whatever reason you choose. Talk to us about that.
Mhm. Yeah, so when I was first diagnosed, what I found was that there were many people around me. So I'm on the women's ministry at my church. And so there's lots of women, and there were a handful maybe that you knew maybe went through breast cancer or something of that nature, the similar situation. And so what I ended up doing was I ended up reaching out and going to an organization to join a support group.
Mm,
But what I felt was missing was a woman who was right there next to me, someone in my circle who had gone through what I had gone through, who could be there to walk me through the journey, who could be there to answer questions, and someone who could understand exactly what I was going through, and that I saw them going through it.
yeah.
And I couldn't find that. And so what I wanted to do is I wanted to share my story. I did want to be that example of that. That's the whole reason why I started my Facebook page in the beginning. The page, that's there is
Mm,
I started it, and my very first post is talking about I have a story to tell, and I have
mm,
something to share. And I started the page right when I was still going through. I was still in chemo when I started the page. And so I just wanted to be an example of that, Cyrus.
mm,
Many times this journey is personal. And
right.
one of my girlfriends, honestly, who had been there for me through my journey, we go to church together. She called me like 2 weeks ago and told me that this past year she had gone through breast cancer, had
Mm,
not told anybody, had not even told me, totally kept it private. And so that is a choice.
yeah.
It's a choice to do that, but then there's also a choice to share so that you can be there for other people, so that in the end, she did come back around and say, and share with me, her experiences.
Right.
And so it is a choice, but I would encourage people not to go through something like that alone.
Yeah.
Because as you did mention, there was lots of positivity around. There were people who are wanting to help. When you're vulnerable in that way, there are moments, lots of moments where you need help and you need people. Like, you can't do it alone.
Right.
And so my decision to share was not only for me to share, but then for others, so that they could reach out, they could help, they could learn, they could grow. And basically what I did is I built community around myself.
Mm, yeah. And I think too, I thought about a couple of things that you wrote about in the book. So you guys really, I really encourage you all to get this book, whether you yourself have gone through a breast cancer journey, know someone who has, or gone through any kind of a challenge. It's one of those books that really does speak to you. But there's a couple of things were coming through to my mind from the book, Patryce, as you were talking. One, you talk about in the book when you talk about disclosure, about your mother raising you to be independent and not. So there's that whole thing of I don't need some people feel like I don't, this is my thing, I don't need anyone for this. But then there's the other side of it that you say, you know, for some people, you don't have to splash this across the newspaper. It's not
Right.
something. How you decide to share it is totally your thing. But I want to talk about what it's been like for you because by your sharing your story, you're to me are doing two things, and I want you to talk about this. One, you're letting people know they're not by themselves, right, in
Correct.
what they're going through. But two, that it's okay to talk about it. It's okay
Mm-hmm.
to not have good days all the time. It's okay
Mm-hmm.
to have those feelings of, can I do this? Talk to us about what that's been like for you by making the decision to share, Patryce, to let people know what they can do.
It's funny that you said that because I think we kind of giggled about this before, you and I. Um, Oftentimes on my Facebook page, I'll put, I'm not having a good day today. This is what
Mhm.
happened. That's what happened. I think that people want someone that's real. They want to
Yeah,
see real life,
right.
We don't want to see fantasy land where everything in your life is all, peachy keen. Because that's not the reality of what life is.
Hmm.
And so me sharing, I share my good days, and all my days are good. I think we started out talking about that.
Hmm.
How's your day going? Well, all
Yeah.
my days are good. And all my days are good because again, I can make that choice to have a good day. I can make that choice. So on those days when I'm not feeling so good, I can embrace those emotions, go through them, work through them. Hey, for me, it's grabbing some affirmation cards,
Hmm.
saying something, snapping myself right back in, going out, doing something, maybe doing a little bit of journaling. So it's doing that to make sure that I'm just standing in the right place. But also me sharing, sometimes we do feel like we're in things alone
Hmm.
because nobody else is talking about it.
Yeah.
And so another thing that is important to me is normalizing talking about issues, talking about situations of adversity, because because everybody has them, and
Hmm.
that's not what the big deal is. The big deal about situations of adversity is how you go through them, how you overcome them, how you go through the process, and really, I'm always saying how you enjoy the process,
Yeah.
because I believe that obstacles are really opportunities for us to grow in character, for us to grow in knowledge, for us to open up, for us to expand, for us to heal, for us to love, for us to give. There are opportunities for us to do that,
Hmm.
because once we get over the obstacle and we move into the opportunity part, you'll see that you've grown so much and learned so much. And that's exactly what that hindsight moment is about. It's about once you get to the other side, then seeing everything that you've learned, but not getting to the other side and having regret.
Yeah.
So trusting the process, going through the process, enjoying the journey. And so that's why I wanted to share, and that's why I still share, because I want people seeing me going through tough times, having obstacles, how I get over them, and continuously going forward, and as I say in the subtitle of the book, and thriving through all the situations, adversity, opportunities, and just seizing the moment and just keep going. So that's why I share. My sharing is for encouragement and for inspiration.
Hmm. I haven't asked you this question, Patrice, but it just came to me as you were talking. What has this journey taught you?
Ooh, that's a good question. um this journey has taught me, one of the things that it's taught me is that we all have something deep down inside of us
Hmm.
that we can conquer anything. And it's all about making one choice and one decision. Obstacles, I'm still faced with obstacles every single day.
Yeah.
And it's just taught me that after you make a decision, whatever decision that you decide to make in your mind, that you're going to go on the journey regardless. But whatever decision that you make, trust the process, and then just continue to move forward every day. And what it's taught me is that the power of our thoughts, again, our words are powerful.
Yeah.
I've been finding, Cyrus, that just changing my mindset about a lot of things and the way I think about a lot of things, I'm understanding now what it means to manifest. Because the energy that we put out is the energy that comes back to us.
Right.
And so when we're thinking positive, when we're saying positive things, and when we're doing positive things, regardless to what the situation is, when that's the way that we're behaving, positivity has no choice but to come back to us. It's really a law. It's a universal law of attraction. And so that's the way it works. And so what I can really say now that I'm thinking about your question and I'm answering, I can say what this journey has taught me is that all of the things that we say that we believe, all of the, if you're spiritual and you're in church and we talk about situations that won't be put on us, that are too hard for us to bear. We
Yeah.
talk about the power of life and death is in the tongue, talk about thinking positively. I would say that this journey has taught me that all those things are true, but it's up to us to make a decision, one decision, and to activate it. We
Yeah.
have to activate our faith.
So true. Such a great point. Thank you so much for sharing that, Patryce. And thank you so much for another great conversation. Again, everyone, Patryce Sheppard has been our guest. The book is Doing It Differently. I'm going to go ahead and highlight it again on the Amazon side there for you guys. You all can see the subtitle again is An Empowering Approach to Thriving Through Breast Cancer. And you can also get this and the other books that we talked about there as well. You guys can see there on Amazon. Patryce, I really do appreciate you. Appreciate your sharing your journey. Appreciate all the work that you're doing, and looking forward to our next conversation together.
Yes, thank you so much, Cyrus.
Definitely. With the into the segment of Cyrus Presents. If you all did come in late and you missed part of the broadcast, thanks to Amazon, the replay will be available for you guys, and the books will still be either down below or on the side. So feel free to be able to click on those, be able to get your own copies of them. Until next time, I'm Cyrus Webb saying thank you all for watching Cyrus Webb Presents. You all make it a great one. We'll talk to you soon.